You have to have a good philosophy of, you got to learn how to strike, you got to learn how to roll, and you got to fuck with weapons.
Violence for the sake of protecting your community, your country, your family is heroic. Being a martial artist is being an eternal student.
Honestly, you get what you tolerate. If you don't address disrespect, you're going to get disrespected.
Yeah.
So the key is cultivating the kind of community and culture around the people around you so that people like that don't feel welcome.
Martial arts teaches us from how to manage children to relationships to leadership to everything.
But the overarching thing is, at the end of the day, I have to improve to some degree capabilities and skill development.
I took a guy who had no confidence to the point where the thing that he hated and feared the most, now he loves.
The most average human being learns in 3s and 4s. We have our own instructor type of training here. We call it done in 4. If you can teach a technique in 4 movements, then you're solid.
I think if I get more fit, and I get more confident, and I get exercise, and I learn how to fight, that's all great things, but I need to have fun.
The first thing you should teach is how to see a fight, how before it starts, how to understand the cues of somebody who's about to throw a sucker punch at you, how to de-escalate the situation.
People don't die in knife attacks because of technique failure. They die because of an evaluation. My philosophy is knife work is brain work.
Be careful what you train because you might get really good at the wrong thing.
Welcome to the Superhuman Blueprint Podcast.
I was just going to say it was bullshit. I would have just said it's bullshit. What is all that bullshit?
I know of Israelis who are judo instructors and went overseas and started teaching self-defense based on the judo or based on the karate, but they tap into the name Krav Maga because when you say Krav Maga, everybody knows what it is. And it's some Israelis, I'm not one of them, I'd argue on the contrary, but some of them that argue any martial art that comes out of Israel is Krav Maga. Back in the day, Jiu-Jitsu was a blanket term that called any you had boxing, you had wrestling, these were sport, but anything you had European Jiu-Jitsu, which is back in Israel when they were teaching in the precursors of the IDF, they were trained hand. They had all kinds of names for it. It was before they coined the name Krav Maga. They used to call it Judo Shimushi, which literally translates into practical judo. Because judo, it's a martial art, it must be judo. I have an instructor in Sydney who's been doing Krav Maga for 15 years, and his parents still ask him, Jared, how's your karate going? He's like, Mom, Dad, it's Krav Maga. It's the same. Sure, Jared, it's the same. A lot of times people throw around, no, I think Krav Maga, there's a lineage, there's principles, there's a set of techniques. Some people say Krav Maga is just about the principles. Yeah, but there's lineage. You can see. Lineage doesn't mean that it's good. Okay, so I heard somebody say, I piss on your lineage or something like that. Lineage, I've seen plenty of people who, like, with the best lineage in the world, who are crap, and I've seen instructors with no lineage, you try to follow where they learned Krav Maga, but it is spot on. So lineage answers the question, is it Krav Maga or is it not Krav Maga? Doesn't answer the question, is it good or not?
Actually, that leads me into my next question for you, Noy.
Yes, sir.
So, you're a Krav Maga instructor. You wrestled back in high school. You've been training Krav Maga for a long time. Now you're also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu student. You teach police Jiu-Jitsu. Obviously, you dabble in some FMA with Paulo, and you study a lot of different things. Why? Isn't Krav Maga good enough?
Krav Maga in some ways is a systems approach, right? So if you have somewhat of a love for martial arts, but you do want to teach self-defense, and you want to have a systems approach. You want a means to. I've been saying this recently. You have to have a good philosophy of you got to learn how to strike, you got to learn how to roll, and you got to fuck with weapons. Pardon my French. You can bleep this out if you want, but you have to strike, roll, F with weapons. I think that's in some ways good Krav Maga. So now you have to add the respect of Krav Maga's approach. So you don't bastardize Krav Maga by doing just let's call it Muay Thai Jiu-Jitsu and messing with weapons. You have to understand there is the training methodology to it.
My student and friend, David Bergman, teaches in Virginia Beach. He brought this idea a while ago of reclaiming the term martial artist, because martial artists has become looked down upon, especially in the UFC and stuff. When people say martial arts, you're thinking about somebody in a strip mall, in a gi, teaching all these weird ninjutsu stuff. For me, a martial artist is somebody like GSP, George St. Pierre, is like the epitome of the martial artist. It's about respect. It's about using the fighting arts to get better. And you should and you could be interested in boxing and knife, and if it's martial, maybe weapons and gun. And like your life is about, I don't want to say violence, but standing up to violence. And the most important thing is through the training we build ourselves up. So when somebody's looking for a good gym to join, yeah, you learn how to protect yourself, and you can learn to protect yourself several different ways, but it's about the growth that you accomplish constantly putting yourself in the challenge. And what makes a good, you know what, if somebody asks you what makes a good Krav Maga gym, what makes a good Filipino martial arts gym, what makes a good boxing gym, it's the place that's very good at putting the practitioner, the student, in challenges and building them up in a way that they can grow from them, not destroy them. And more than anything, it's about values, it's about leadership. It's like the kid that's looking, a parent sends a kid to you and says, my kid's been bullied in school. The kid doesn't need to learn how to choke somebody out or how to knock somebody else with a punch. He needs an adult that can be a positive influence in his life, that he can look at and go. So I say to the parents, the first thing you should look at is you should look at the teacher and you say, is this a good role model for my kids? And then you see the class and you say, is this going to be a productive place for my kids to train? Is this going to make them better? Because a kid who's getting bullied needs confidence and needs a community more than they need to know how to throw a punch. And tell you a secret, so do adults. Krav Maga is a journey that never, martial arts. So that's a martial artist. You look at Conor McGregor, amazing fighter with all the trash talk and this. Okay, it's part of his image. Is not to take away. He's an amazing athlete, but you look at that and you go, this guy's a bit of a punk, a bit of a thug. This is going online, so if you want to find me, you can find me, Connor.
Difference between a fighter and a martial artist?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So I want to reclaim the martial arts. So when you ask Noy, and to piggyback off of that, you ask Noy as a Krav Maga guy, why are you dabbling in Filipino martial arts? And I'm like, of course you should. There's a hierarchy to it. At Noy's level, yes. If you're just a beginner and you're trying to learn French and Spanish and Japanese at the same time, good luck. You're going to be more confused. But after you can speak French fluently, if you want to be, martial arts is being being a martial artist is being an eternal student. And so
I've actually used that very same term, reclaiming martial artists, and these conversations typically happen when I meet a combatives person or a tactical professional. I'll be like, you're a martial artist, man. It's the processes that you employ, it's the integrity, the honor, the respect that you live by. It's the processes that you go through day to day. Tell me why that's not a martial artist. And then they'll say the same thing. When I think of martial artists, I think of this dojo guy in a plaza. And I'm like, we got to reclaim it. I love the term martial artist.
Yeah. It's naive to say the least.
Absolutely.
Because the firearms is still a training discipline. So
when we were in the IDF, when we joined, when we were given a rifle, we were given the creed of the IDF. We were taught, first of all, which orders are unlawful orders and which orders we must disobey. Okay? And we were taught, we call it purity of arms. So that goes together.
Tired of crashing midday and relying on caffeine to keep you going? I have got news for you. You're probably dehydrated. Most of us are drinking dead water, or purified or filtered or reverse osmosis water, stripped of essential minerals. This water may actually be doing more harm than good, leaving us without the crucial electrolyte balance our bodies need to stay properly hydrated. Enter Element Electrolytes, the game changer in hydration. Packed with over 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, Element provides pure hydration power without any sugar. These essential electrolytes are vital for maintaining energy, supporting muscle function, and enhancing mental focus. And people, sodium is essential. It's not evil. We have been grossly misled. It is a key player in maintaining fluid balance, transmitting nerve signals, and aiding in muscle contractions. And then there's potassium, which helps regulate heart rate and balance fluids, while magnesium supports muscle and nerve function and promotes relaxation. With Element, you can say goodbye to the midday slump and hello to sustained energy and focus. And the best part, the flavors are incredible, ranging from fruity to chocolate. Mix in the watermelon flavor to a big old bottle of ice water on a hot day to cool down and boost your energy. Or if you need a cozy boost on a cold day, you can mix the chocolate flavor in hot water for a delicious salted hot chocolate. And hot off the press, Element now offers carbonated electrolyte drinks. So you can ditch those crap sugary energy drinks like Rockstar and Red Bull and pick up Element's carbonated options, which provide the hydration you need without the crash. Head over to primalwellnesscoaching.com/element. That's LMNT, primalwellnesscoaching.com/element, LMNT, and score a free sample pack with your first order. Hydrate smart, feel great, and crush your day with Element electrolytes.
The cliche, with great power comes great responsibility. That's really martial art. If you just, people say they come to me to learn self-defense. I go, I have no idea what self-defense means. Self-defense is a legal term, okay? Don't make me self-defend you, Drew. I know how to injure people, and I know how to hurt them to various degrees, okay? Violence for the sake of violence is evil. Violence for the sake of protecting your community, your country, your family is heroic. So it's all about, so if you're just teaching people how to punch, how to hit each other, how to choke one another out, yeah, that's not really where I'm at.
Yeah.
That's going to be coupled with the values. So,
All right, I was going to go other places with this, but let's piggyback on that. So for all three of you, in the spirit of the way this conversation is going, with bringing back the term martial artist, right, and martial arts being this thing of beauty and values, any instances where you've had a conflict, where you had to either remove someone from your program or your school, or you had to have some sort of confrontation around someone that you could clearly see was not a part of those values. They weren't there for those values. They were there for other reasons.
Yeah, for me, I think the key is cultivating the kind of community and culture around the people around you so that people like that don't feel welcome. I don't need to kick that person out. They will not feel welcome in that environment. So that's my approach. It's not that, hey, I don't think this is right for you. By the process, by virtue of what we do here, if you're an egotistical guy who just wants to show everybody how cool you are or how much you're disrespectful, it's not going to be necessarily the leadership that's going to do that. I haven't had to go there. They just felt not welcome by my students, by the community, by the culture.
And that's fair, and every leader should uphold that, right? And that should be the precedence that is set.
Yeah.
But I will say, people, eventually, you do this long enough and with a broad enough audience, but people will slip through the cracks.
Yeah, that's for these guys, because
Yeah.
you guys have been teaching a lot longer than I have.
Yeah.
So how
Go
how
down
do
the
you
line,
navigate
Noy.
that?
How do I navigate?
So I know that you've turned people away.
Yeah. So I'm gonna name one of them.
What's his name?
We'll keep them anonymous, okay? Because there's two lenses to this. This person could perceive that I slighted them, okay? A guy came in. He had gang tattoos, very extreme type of gang tattoos, actually. And I got lucky that it was during my police explorers program. So one of my cops was actually here, and he had pointed the fact that this guy had gang tattoos. So on my second look, I saw the gang tattoos, and I said, "Hey, not to bust your bubble, but I'm pretty sure you're a nice guy to your friends, but we cannot have you in our school. I'm pretty sure there's another school out there for you, but we can't, okay?" And there's a reasoning behind it, okay? So this guy had gang tattoos. I do have a spread of people in my mats of different walks of life, right? Including cops' wives and a lot of family type of people. To me, the way I looked at it is not just that I have to protect the law enforcement officers and their family members here, but I also have to protect them, because who knows, right? Maybe he's a good guy. Maybe he's reformed. Maybe he's changed gears. But if he was not willing to, let's call it cover up, right? If we want to train, yeah, sure, you can train, but you have to cover up the tattoos. You have to cover up the gang tattoos. If that person was actually not willing to do that. So to me, it's okay, so you're still active and you're still willing to do the things that in your lifestyle you are willing to do. So there's a conflict of interest, right? So you wouldn't put, if there are two dogs, you wouldn't put them in the same kennel if they fight, right? Because if you kennel two dogs that shouldn't be in the same kennel, you leave one, when you come back, one dog's dead. So that was my approach, and that's where I came from. Obviously, he didn't take it the right way, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Ron?
I think you really hit the nail where it's as a leader, and as a leader, your responsibility is to the community that you're the leader of. That's the only thing you should be doing. So that's the question. Is this person I want to help everybody, even a gang member,
Yes, sir.
even they're going to get, I believe that through joining my community and through being part of what we do, it's going to make your life better. The question it balances is at what cost. So I want everybody to get better. I want a strong community that can withstand. Not everybody's toughest, baddest. Some people need a little bit more help with, and that's cool. That's exactly the people I want. Some people are a bit stronger, bigger, rougher, and they risk injury. And as a leader, you manage. But you also have to I think you hit it. It's about the mentality. Are they willing to do? We can welcome anybody, but if you come to our house, you need to respect our rules.
Yeah.
And I'll do what I can, but I'm limited in what I can do. What I can, I'll help you habituate. But if you're not willing to do any of the work, then come back when you're ready.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
So in events like that, for somebody who teaches classes, we all teach classes, it's not really the trust of the person in question that you're breaking, it's really the trust of the whole population of students. So if there's maladaptive behavior on the mat and you didn't stop that, it's not really the person that you address within that discipline that you're breaking trust with. It's you're breaking the discipline, but you're breaking trust with the rest of the people on that mat, right? So if there's 12 people on the mat and one person is messing around and you didn't correct it, then that means there's a possibility within the 11 people, they're going to think like, how come he didn't do that? Which sours the experience for the student, which is a bigger responsibility for the instructor on the mat in question.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a leader. I love the leadership aspect of it. It's a leadership question. We were recently on the WhatsApp group, the instructors, the certified instructors WhatsApp group. It's interesting. We started a conversation about teaching kids and about kids pushing boundaries and about leadership and all that. And then it piggybacked off to, as a leader, you also have to set the standards of what you're willing to tolerate and what not. And from there it went to, okay, as instructors, we need to be constant students. We need to keep training. And I put my foot down. We have a certain standard of how often we expect instructors to train. We have people that we love, that are friends, but haven't met that standard. Now, as a person, the easiest thing is to just let it go. Because these are people, these are instructors, these are people that I care about. They feel part of the group. I don't want to say, you know what, you're still part of our community, but not as an instructor under our relation, because you haven't met that. So it's much easier. I would rather not do it. But then on a personal level, but on the leadership level, you're like, my responsibility is to the rest of the group to set the standard. So now I have to have some hard conversations with people saying, I'm sorry, but for now, you're out until you're ready to do what we've identified.
Yeah.
So it's really about, as a leader, what you're willing to tolerate. And I don't say that as a tough, this is our expectation. It's actually underneath the kids are fooling around in class. As a coach, like what you're willing to tolerate, how much you're teaching the kids about leadership. Are you, what's the word? It's not lax. The word in English is, were you like careless, discard, like uninterested, is that, I can't find the word.
Relax is about
No, relaxed. Yeah, detached. Are you like a detached leader where people do stuff and you just don't call it off and you let go?
Non-confrontational.
Maybe. Or you lead, or you tyrant, right? Or are you able to enforce the behaviors and the expectations and the standards in a way that brings up people? And that's a challenge.
It's great relationship advice too.
Yeah.
Honestly, you get what you tolerate. If you don't address disrespect, you're going to continue to get disrespected and so forth. So I really like that.
Wow.
First of all, tell me
So
why-
that's what martial art, right? Martial arts teaches us from how to manage children to relationships to leadership to everything. And that's why you go to learn a martial art. Yeah, you start to protect yourself, but this is the gift that has people lifelong martial artists, 30, 35, 40 years in, and we keep on trying.
And we have great relationships. All right, two-part question for you.
Yes, sir.
First of all, how do you even teach? How would you categorize it? Knife fighting?
Good.
What do you teach?
Yeah, no, knife fighting, no. In fact, when I teach knife fighting, I like to put theory after it. So I can teach you knife fighting theory.
Okay.
So what I teach is a synthesis of knowledge, information, concepts, ideas, principles that I've gathered through my other work, which allowed me to travel the world and meet subject matter experts and pick their brains. I'm a naturally curious person. I like to think I'm pretty smart. So it's a synthesis of this mound of knowledge that I've been able to accumulate. It's a synthesis of some mentors that I have who have directed me in a particular path. And it's strange because I'm not really answering your question, and it's very convoluted. One way I could articulate it is just I'm sharing information that I've been fortunate enough to have received from people who are bigger, stronger, smarter, much more experienced than me. And I funnel that through the lens of knife and stick.
Okay.
But yeah,
But what do you call it? What was on the flyer? What do you put on the flyer?
So I call it the system because I was necessitated to call it something because of questions like this. What do you even call this?
Yeah.
So I call it the snake and dagger.
Okay.
And the snake is representative of constant adaptation, of fluidity, and renewal. And the dagger is representative of strength, resilience, culture, history, all of those things.
Okay.
It's really a bridge. The snake and dagger is representative of things that are set in stone, that are strong and are meant to be that way. That's what protects us, but never losing that adaptability, that fluidity, that ability to shed old skin and become something new.
So the next question then, where does the practical application of what you teach lie? Like, so I've done one of your like short seminars, and we were just playing around a little bit here a bit ago, and it's this beautiful kind of fluid sequence of movements.
Yeah.
How does that build into, or I guess over in your like in system as a whole, where does that become practical application?
It's twofold. One, I do a lot of seminars. So in a seminar platform, I have a limited amount of time with people. As a boxer, what's the first punch you learn? Is the jab.
Yeah.
When do you stop training it? Never. So my seminars, the focus can't necessarily be on technical refinement because people are there from all walks of life for different reasons. I have to meet them where they're at. Some people want to learn the art, some people want skill development, some people are fear-based, they feel for their lives, they want some self-defense capabilities. So my approach to that is to give them meaningful training experiences, to inoculate them into elements of reality, whether that element could be an extreme time constraint. That element could be sound decision-making under stressful conditions. That could be recreating physiological responses to adrenalized states.
Okay.
So how do I get them tired and then get them to do something?
Yeah.
So for me, it isn't about the technical refinement, but to have meaningful training experiences that sort of cement into your intuition so that hopefully that leads to a favorable outcome. But the overarching thing is, at the end of the day, I have to improve to some degree capabilities and skill development. And so the drills, the games, the sequences all broadly lead to the specific need of a variety of people. Okay. So if I can get you moving, right, maybe you're rigid and strong, but I feel like fluidity and grace and balance could improve your odds at making a better decision when your life depended on it, then that's what that drill is for you. So I could be doing one drill, we could all be doing the same drill, but for different reasons. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I'm doing a fluid knife drill, a Filipino martial artist would be like, whoa, this is a great drill. I'm going to integrate into my Filipino martial art. For other people, they could focus on adding a little bit more pressure from that low line thrust within that sequence to work on their 360 defense for Krav Maga. For other people, it's like movement, any kind of movement is good for them.
Right.
Might as well be this movement, again, so doing the same drill for different purposes.
Yeah.
So that's how I approach it. One, I got to give you good, meaningful training experiences so that it cements into your intuition and your subconscious. Two, some tangible physical activity that broadly lends itself to skill development so that you can apply it specifically to who you are.
Okay.
And in some cases, murdery knife stuff.
Murdery knife stuff. I love the art, man. I love the art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I always say that knife defense is simple, but it's not easy. It's hard work to do actual knife defense. And we can't all do that all the time. So if I can have a lower amplitude of an exercise that we can go higher up on, all the way up until pressure testing, if the core nucleus of an activity falls within the general realm of appropriateness, then I'm cool with it. We can get a little artsy with it.
I actually like when you brought up boxing, because if somebody came to me and said, I want to do a 3-hour boxing seminar, and I would say, okay, do you intend to box on a regular basis? They're like, no. Have you ever boxed before? No. I'm just going to do these 3 hours. I say, save your time. It's not worth it. If you came to me and said, I'm going to do 3 hours of jiu-jitsu, and that's all I'm ever going to do in my life, I say, why bother? Save your money. But if you came to me and say, okay, I'm going to do 3 hours, like you said, a 3-hour seminar, and just based on that, and then I go back to doing, or if somebody says, I just come and do 3 hours of Krav Maga, or self-defense training, of shivworks, or of, it's a different, like, self-defense, and these, like, specialties, it's a different module from learning a sport. Doing 3 hours of boxing makes as much sense as doing 3 hours of tennis and never touching a racket again. Are you going to have some fun? Maybe. You're probably going to be more frustrated because you won't. I suck at ping pong. Yeah. So, like, I can barely hit the ball. Right? If you say you do 3 hours of ping pong, okay. If you want to invest and become better, that's what sports are for. To invest and start to develop your technique and then compete and then get better. That's cool. I'm all up for that. But the realm of martial art, the realm of self-defense is a means to an end. I'm not doing Krav Maga to be good at Krav Maga. I'm not coming to Paulo's seminar to be good at knife and dagger, snake and dagger concept.
Not going to happen.
I'm going over there so that I can learn useful skills that then are going to stay with me.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Upgrade your wellness with the Ringcon Smart Ring, the ultimate all-in-one health tracker that offers comprehensive metrics without the subscription fee. You know what I'm talking about. Track everything from your heart rate and blood oxygen levels to sleep quality and stress index. This ring even monitors your daily steps and workouts, giving you a complete picture of your overall well-being. One of the standout features of the Ringcon Smart Ring for me is its ability to track sleep and movement. But understands your sleep patterns and can help you to optimize your rest, improve recovery, and enhance your overall health. The ring provides detailed insights into your sleep stages, helping you to identify disruptions and make better adjustments for better quality sleep. With improved sleep, as you know, you can then boost your energy levels, cognitive function, and your overall mood. So it is worth tracking your sleep, folks. The Ringcon Smart Ring also excels in tracking your daily movement and workouts. So by monitoring your steps and your activity levels and your exercise routines, it helps you to stay active and to reach your fitness goals. And for those of you that care about this kind of thing, you can actually turn off Bluetooth on the ring, only activating it when you're ready to look at the real-time data in the app on your phone. This way you're not getting hammered with more wireless signals. So don't miss out on optimizing your wellness. Head over to primalwellnesscoaching.com/ringcon. That's RINGCONN. primalwellnesscoaching.com/ringcon, and get your Ringcon Smart Ring today. No subscription, just pure health power on your finger.
Let's say, so I come to your studio, I'm like, sir, I want to know what Krav Maga is all about. I want to know if it's right for me to have 3 hours. You show me that, like, how do you approach that?
I'll do you one better. All
right.
Okay? Sometimes when I deploy, I'll get a bunch of reservists even.
Right.
Not theoretic. In 2016, the heart of the knife intifada, there were stabbings every day in Israel because social media was building that and one fueled another. And my unit was just about to get its reservist unit, infantry, warfighters. These are normal people. They have jobs and now they have to leave their civilian life, their families and the jobs behind, and they're going on deployment. Where are they going? They're going in knife set. This is Zion Junction. This is ground zero for knife attacks, for terrorist attacks. Like, we know that someone's going to get attacked out of our brigade. A few, we just don't know who. Okay? So I'm living in Sydney at the time. I ran a gym over there, I studied, but I used to often come back home to deploy. My commanders are calling me and they're saying, Ronnie, as a combatives instructor, I was also a combat soldier, but I was also the combatives instructor of the unit. And I'm getting WhatsApp messages from my company commander, from the brigadier. Ronnie, you deploying with this time? I'm like, yeah, I bought myself a ticket. Okay, so when these soldiers are deploying, and often before we'd go into patrols or things like that, it would be like an 8-hour thing. It would be a 12-hour cycle. So you'd go for an 8-hour shift, and part of that you'd eat. Part of that you'd check your gear and everything, and part of that you'd go through a lesson. And sometimes I'd get these soldiers that we know very high probability that someone's going to stab them or somebody's going to attack. And they say, okay, Ron, we want you to prepare them for it. I'm like, cool. And you've got 45 minutes, but they're just actually finishing their lunch, so 30 minutes. Okay?
Yep.
And you have to train them, and this is going to be the difference. So we're equipped for that in Krav Maga. So you say 3 hours, a student who wants to do it, I'm telling you, give me a soldier for 30 minutes, and then they go into the war. What do you teach them as an instructor? And I can say that Krav Maga, we have the tools to do, but in order to do that, you take a step back. And you say, okay, and this is to everything I do, from training instructors, black belts, that we were doing just last week in Vegas, to training soldiers. I start and I say, okay, what is the desired outcome here? What is the threats that they're going to be facing? What are the tools that they have? What are the skills and their abilities? Okay, and what do I need to prepare them for? What's reasonable to be able to accomplish, and how much time do I have? And then from there I build it up. So, smallest example, okay? I know that in the military, I know because I've studied this, and we've seen it in the idea of 99% of the attacks, and I love statistics because how does the saying go? 70 works every time, 70% of the time? 60% of the time, every time? Yeah. Okay, so I like statistics, but it's to illustrate the point. The attacks come from above, down. Why? I have my theories. I think the most natural way, you give a caveman, we're designed to generate momentum like this. You put somebody who's under incredible amount of, he knows that he's going to stab a soldier. He's probably not going to live very long. He knows this because somebody else is going to shoot him. Very often, the people we deal with are evil. They'll pump them full of drugs and they'll drive them and they'll put them off and they say, go. This is not somebody ready to do martial arts and things like that. This is a guy in berserker mode. Okay, so we see the steps from above. So I go, this is what we're going to do. If I try to teach them this, and I try to teach them what to do if somebody backs their weapon, and what to do if somebody throws a punch at them and throw. Okay, I'm not going to. So first, I isolate. I understand.
Context.
Yeah, you need to understand who you're training first. What are the threats? So if you come and you say, I want to learn Krav Maga, I'd say, why? I'd say, you want fitness? Cool, we'll do fitness. You want to learn how to protect yourself? What are the threats? And now, so what do I teach these soldiers? Let's start with the fact that they all have M4s, right? So we should probably incorporate that, okay? So we understand, I teach them range, I teach them distance before I teach them any techniques. Right. And I don't like to think in terms of techniques. I'm going to teach them a tool. The go-to defense with a rifle against somebody trying to stab you from above is you block, you deflect, and you hit them with the barrel in the face in order to get distance so that you can shoot them. Okay, but 30 minutes, and I know from experience because I've been doing it for a while, this is possible, but it's one move, two move, three moves. How can I make this better? So I go, okay, these soldiers They're all wearing helmets. They've all got pikes. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, all I'm going to teach them is that if there's a threat in front of them, they see somebody grabbing, they see somebody charging up, they're just going to charge forward and hit them with the magazine of the rifle in order to get range, lock, and shoot. And we're going to drill this again and again. I'm going to send soldiers with shields that are holding bags, and I'm going to charge, and I'm going to train these soldiers to do just one thing: strike, separate, and do this again and again. And 30 minutes of doing that drill, that's a pretty simple drill. You can get pretty good at that. And yeah, we had soldiers who were stabbed and they survived and they were able to use. So this is the specialty of Krav Maga. If you say, is it worthwhile doing half an hour of boxing? I'd say get lost. But is it worthwhile doing half an hour of Krav Maga? I recommend more, especially if you're going in, but we can utilize anything. So that's my answer to your question.
Got it.
I think there's also something to be said about the tone of the training. If you only had 30 minutes, right? It takes a very special instructor to get people to go up in intensity, right? If I were talking really low and I'm making people drill, then it doesn't get the same reaction as I want. Versus if you only had 30 minutes, I'm like, all right, this is it. This is what we're gonna do. Every time I blow this whistle, everybody's gonna go, right? And then just the tone of the training changes incrementally higher. And I think that has a lot to do with the brain capacity of the soldiers for when they actually go out there. They're like, they feel more prepared, right? The tone is set.
Going back to the Jewish origins of Krav Maga, I answer a question with a question, right? So let me simplify my trade. You ask me, I have 3 hours.
Nope.
Now what?
I asked you, somebody comes to see you
Yeah.
and says, I want to know what Krav Maga is all about to see if it's right for me. I'm
Okay.
just a regular civilian. I went to the karate studio, I did my trial there, I did a jiu-jitsu trial, I did a Muay Thai trial. So the mandate is less
Yeah.
serious, it's less urgent.
Okay.
You just want to show me the best of Krav Maga in like in 3 hours so that I sign up and then I get passionate and I make it a lifelong thing.
You already gave me more information, so I would fail if I wouldn't start with asking you a question back. I say, what are your expectations to, what would you like to get out of that? What are your expectations? Are you coming? Why did you go and visit all these gyms?
Yeah, because I love martial arts. And
You love martial arts. Are you concerned about your safety?
a little bit.
What do you think? What would you say more? Do you enjoy the arts?
Yeah, I would
Or-
say, I think if I get more fit and I get more confident and I get
Yeah.
exercise and I learn how to fight, that's all great things, but I need to have fun doing it.
Okay. Have you tried boxing yet?
I hate it, it's too boring.
Okay. But you don't like getting punched in the face.
Don't like getting punched in the face that much.
Okay, what about competition? Do you like, is competition, do you want to test yourself?
No, not really, not in competition.
Okay, so boxing and jiu-jitsu are not for you. What about like you musician? I have a friend who's trying to get him to do jiu-jitsu, but he's a guitar player. Like
No,
breaking fingers is that, and dislocating shoulders.
No, I like it. It seems cool. I saw some videos on YouTube. It seems like it could be fun. It could be useful and interesting. So I just want to know: are my perceptions correct? Are they all of those things? Can Krav Maga be fun? Can it be useful? And can it be challenging?
Can be all those things. So
What are you going to show me? So what are you going to show me?
Yeah. So yeah. So I have somebody in front of me from the little information that I got that is probably works in a 9 to 5,
Yep.
is looking for something to do after work, right? We said
Yeah,
this is the
yes,
soldier
sir.
going
Yeah.
to the front line, probably doesn't want to get injured, so
Yep.
he's out. What are the financial capabilities? Is this somebody who wants to join a class as a fun activity, or someone, driven, who wants to do one-on-one with the best instructor in the world, and like that? Because as an instructor, my job, I'm not Luke Wyatt. I'm not Luke Skywalker in this story. I'm Yoda. My goal is to guide the hero, you're the hero of your story, where they need to go. I have a student, an instructor, who recently quit Krav Maga. We had this discussion
Yeah,
last
yeah,
time.
yeah.
I have a student, there's more to the story since we spoke. So I had a student, his name is Richard, he might even listen to this, which is cool, and he started training with me as a beginner. I don't normally teach beginners, but we had an instructor that we had to fire. I hope he's listening to this because he was an asshole. Really, he was misguided, so we had to put him on a plane, send him back to Israel. He was working for me in Australia. And I had to take over his classes, so I was teaching beginners for quite a while, which is really cool because I really love teaching beginners. I really love teaching kids, and I don't have an opportunity. And Richard graded for his yellow belts, and it was time for him to join the sparring classes. And he was really apprehensive, as most normal people are. Like some people, are all in, want to get punched in the face. Richard was, and I tried to tell him, look, the sparring classes are pretty, we look after one another, there's good intensity, nobody's here trying to knock anybody out, it's just about having fun, it's challenging. I want this for you. This is going to be such a growth experience, and it's the next step in your development. And I had to drag him by the ear. It probably took him a month. It took me a month of every class. He used to train a lot. He used to train 3-4 times a week. And every class I used to say, come on, hang back. And finally he did. And also I'd say, you spar with me. Like, I'm looking after you. Don't worry about this. And he started doing it. And 4 or 5 years later, he became an instructor. And he was teaching. And he was on a trip to Thailand. And as you do, if you're a Krav Maga instructor, he went to some Muay Thai classes. And I really liked it. And when he came back to Sydney, he was training more and more Muay Thai. And at some point, he's, look, I don't have time. He had a job. He was a teacher for special education. And he said, look, I don't have time to train as much as to sir. I think I'm going to take a step back from Krav Maga. I'm just going to do Muay Thai. And somebody would say, man, aren't you like disappointed? Here's somebody that you invested in. I invested in him. I helped. I trained. I built him up. And now he leaves Krav Maga. Someone said he leaves me. He's not working in the gym, and he's doing Muay Thai. And I would say this is the most beautiful thing in the world. Like, I took a guy who had no confidence to the point where the thing that he hated and feared the most, now he loves.
Yeah.
And Richard recently moved to Thailand. He discovered Thailand and Muay Thai, and through Muay Thai got immersed in the culture. And I say, what a beautiful aspect of this story. So you come and you ask me, what can I get a Krav Maga? It's not really about me, what I can show you, how I can prove. It's really about, if my role in your life is to help you discover that you like boxing and that's going to get you fit and you're going to have a lifelong progression, I've done my job. If my role is that you did 3 months in Krav Maga and you had a great experience, but then you had a child and your life got busy, and when your child turned 10, you signed them up to Krav Maga,
That's awesome.
and they continue from there, I've done my job. So the moment you disconnect, and when you come to me, I understand it's not about me proving to you that Krav Maga is the best, because if you ask me, what martial art is the best, I'd say, for what? What's the best tool? A hammer? What's better, hammer or screwdriver? Hammer or screwdriver?
Chainsaw.
Yeah, or chainsaw.
A gun knife.
Yeah, or knife.
Gun knife?
Yeah.
You can ask Dave Chappelle that.
Cane gun knife.
Yeah.
Anyway.
By the way, I propose a drinking game to any listeners of the Ron Engelman podcast that you have to take a drink every time Ron says, punch in the face.
Really? Really? That's
Talk about, you mentioned getting punched in the face at least once per episode.
Or anytime no one goes, let's call it.
Yeah,
That's the
I
dream.
enjoy it. Probably, so I'm down a few brain cells. No joke, by the way. No joke. I won't spar hard these days.
Yeah.
I will not spar
No,
hard.
we talk about that in your instructor
I can't
courses.
do it anymore.
Nope, me neither.
No, it's stupid. It's not worth. If you're going to be a world champion and you're going to make millions of dollars, or as a football player,
Sure,
if
I'll
you're
do
going to
it.
make millions of dollars, you're going to get a contract. We can have a discussion worth the risk, and it's a very serious risk. Is worth $10 million, $50 million that you might get on contract. But if you're an accountant and you're 40, you're not going to be heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it beneficial to be under pressure? Will it possibly make you better at being able to protect yourself, going against hard people and doing hard sparring, getting punched? It will. Better than doing light sparring. It will. But on the other hand, if you get hit so hard that you have a stroke, or if you're doing jiu-jitsu for self-defense and now you break your elbow or something like that, and now you lose mobility and you can't throw cross anymore, maybe you're actually, like, what's your goal? Your goal should be bigger. I just want to be able to defend myself. Why? What's the point? You defend yourself because you want to have a quality of life that you want to protect. There's the bigger picture. So what's the purpose from God? Oh, survival. What's the objective of survival? You're gonna die at some point. Yeah, you're gonna die at some point. So let's be a little bit more specific about the objective.
Eventually, it hits this diminishing returns where you're learning to defend yourself against your training partners if you don't create risk management.
I mean, the first thing you should be, if you're teaching self-defense. The first thing you should teach is how to see a fight, how before it starts, how to understand the cues of somebody who's about to throw a sucker punch at you, how to de-escalate the situation. That's going to save you much better. If we're this close, no technique is going to save you from the cross that I'm going to hit. So you can learn all the techniques and you can dedicate your life to martial arts. But if you let me get this close, none of that is going to come to play. But if somebody who has 3 months of martial arts training, but knows how to keep range, knows not to let anybody come to the ball, or even through training, they understand how risky violence is. Like the jiu-jitsu fighter, that his idea of violence ends up with him submitting his training partner and the partner chap, and they shake hands, and then they go again. If that's what you think that violence is going to look like, you're going to have the same experience that happened to a guy that was working at door with a friend of mine. The guy was a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Somebody was going wild. He's a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. No problem at all to take somebody unruly. Like if you're a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu and can't grab somebody even twice your size and put them on the ground and leave them helpless. And yeah, he saw the problem. Easy. Put him on the ground. The guy's girlfriend came and kicked him in the face with a heel.
Stop wasting time with mediocre supplements. Kion is the real deal. I personally have tested countless products over the years, and Kion's unwavering commitment to quality and research truly sets them apart from the rest. Kion's Aminos product is my go-to workout recovery drink. Unlike the junk BCAAs that most people use, Kion Aminos includes all 9 essential amino acids, ensuring comprehensive support for muscle recovery and growth. This complete amino acid profile means you're giving your body exactly what it needs to repair and build muscle, enhance endurance, and optimize overall performance. What really impresses me about Kion is their dedication to clean ingredients. Every product is formulated with purity and potency in mind, free from unnecessary fillers, artificial additives, and harmful chemicals. You can trust that what you're putting into your body is of the highest quality, supporting your health and fitness goals without compromise. Their essential amino acids and creatine are staples in my routine. The boost in performance and recovery is honestly undeniable. The creatine helps to enhance strength and power during workouts, while the essential amino acids promote efficient recovery and muscle repair. I also cycle in their protein, colostrum, and various other products for a well-rounded approach to nutrition and wellness. Take your health seriously and upgrade your supplement game with Kion. Visit primalwellnesscoaching.com/Kion, that's Kion, primalwellnesscoaching.com/Kion, and get $20 off your first order of $80 or more. Feel the Kion difference for yourself and experience the boost in performance, recovery, and overall well-being that comes with using the best supplements on the market.
He went into the eye. He lost his eye. That never happens in training. Right? I used to hit my friend all the time when I started boxing. My friend, he fought for the WBO, Ron Nakash, fought for the WBO cruiserweight title of the world. Top level boxer. And every time I missed him with the hook, and I'd land a hammer on his face. And I thought I was doing really good. And then after a while he says, no, Ron, in boxing you're not allowed to hit with the bottom of the glove. He had a blind spot. He had a blind spot for that because that doesn't happen in boxing. Tony Blauer, he says, be careful in what you train because you might get really good at the wrong thing. And that's what we constantly need to be testing ourselves when we're teaching self-defense. Right on the course, I had a guy, I put a gun in his face, and I go, you know the technique? And he's like, yeah, I know the technique. Is he good at the technique? And he's like, yeah, I think so. I've been doing it for a while. And I'll say, okay, I got a gun in your face, disarm. He goes, so this arm, pull the gun, boom. I go, bang. It's a plastic gun. I don't actually shoot him in the face. He goes again, bang. And he goes, what's your objective here? He's trying to do a technique. I said, let me change your objective. Your objective is not to get shot in the face. So when I change the objective, maybe the first thing I should do is, if I do this, I'm making you tense, is I try to bring the energy down. And I comply, or maybe I fake compliance, okay? And now as long as you've got somebody who's skilled in firearms, who's holding a pistol in your face, waiting for you to make a move, maybe you shouldn't make a move. And you wait until his attention is somewhere else, and then you go. So when you do is more important than what you do in this particular instance, because you can know all the best techniques in the world. So if you're teaching people to defend themselves, and you're teaching them, this is the technique for that, but if we change, the objective is not to get shot, okay? I was working with the guys from Texas now, and I was saying, do you guys carry guns? They look at me like, we're from Texas. I say, do most of your students wear guns? And like, yeah. I'm like, do you train Krav Maga with guns? No. I'm like, when somebody chokes you, when somebody comes at you with a knife, shouldn't part of your drill, once you disengage, shouldn't it be to learn the range of where it's reasonable for you to draw your pistol? Oh, but the guys in the UK, where even the police are not allowed to, and that's where it goes. Now they shouldn't do that just because they want to be tactical cool.
I recall a contract that's in Australia as well.
Yeah, you need to train on where you live. You need to understand. So when somebody says, oh, I need to train this unit, what do I teach them? I say, you need to start by asking a whole bunch of questions. Yeah.
Going back to the body language, you're pretty good at that at your seminars. Like when you do the reverse blink drill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
Please.
A reverse blink drill?
Well, what's a reverse blink?
It manufactures a critical element in deadly force encounters where you have a fraction of a second to process information and make a decisive action.
I remember this when we did it before.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Okay.
for the seminars that you were able to witness, I started with something that goes exactly along what you said. People don't die in knife attacks or gun attacks. They don't die in knife attacks because of technique failure. They die because of an evaluation error. They didn't read the totality of circumstances. They didn't. Look, if my strength is jujitsu and I happen to get this guy on the ground and I got him in an armbar, it's dominating armbar, but I didn't realize he had a friend waiting and he's just poking me like this, I didn't die because the armbar failed. I didn't die because of a technique failure. I died because of an evaluation error. I didn't read the totality of circumstances.
Yep.
And so going back to your question, a part of what I teach, even if we're doing a consensual drill and then we start breaking it down, your brain is working. My philosophy is knife work is brain work.
Yep.
I can't necessarily quantify statistically that this brain work will help you with this and this brain work will help you with that. I'm just working your brain all the way through, whether I'm working your brain for memorization, coordination, decision making. There are many ways to work out your brain, and hopefully that thing cements into your subconscious, into your intuition. And then it's really important to learn technique, to refine technique, to get stronger, bigger, more agile, have a stronger grip.
Yeah.
Those things go hand in hand, all that physical development, technical refinement with the ability to keep your brain agile and fluid and ready.
It's funny because when you say that, it makes me, there's this all-day adage where people like to throw, oh, that training is going to get you killed, or you, yeah. And I never thought about it this way, but hearing you speak made me think about it another way. Usually people say, oh, this technique is bullshit, it would never work in real life, and it would get you killed, and you're giving people false confidence, and you just spoke about that, and it made me think about that, but in a different way. If, in my mind, I'm boxing, I love boxing, and my focus is jab, cross, linking up, combination of, that's where my training is. When I'm attacked, I revert to my training. But the age-old question is sometimes training worse than no training. And I put it back to you. It's like, if I'm learning, here's the problem, here's the technique, or this is what nice looks, could even phenomenal boxing trainer or training that didn't have the, or Krav Maga training that didn't have the right focus, could that disadvantage you?
I want to make sure I understand the question.
I say, let's say I'm doing boxing and I'm learning to separate and I'm learning timing and distance and I have a good striking and stuff. Do you think somebody with no boxing experience that can't strike nearly as good, do you think that the possibility?
Yes, absolutely. Because the variables out in the real world they're infinite and they're unpredictable. So let's go with If my strength was Taekwondo and I practiced Taekwondo, but then the ground surface condition was slippery, based on the totality of circumstances, my skills are negated. If your skill set is boxing, but we're in a club where it's dark and you're so used to seeing everything, and it's dark and there's strobe lights going, the environment could negate your skill set. The fact that there may be two people could negate your skill set.
What did you say? You say in the real world, the variables are?
Infinite. They're infinite,
Infinite.
and unpredictable.
Okay, and,
Specific. Yeah.
and boxing, so that we can play sport,
Yep.
we have to limit the variables.
Yep.
If you and I wanted to play soccer together, and I came to you, they say, how do you play soccer? I've never played soccer. And you say, you need to get the ball into the net. And I come up and I pick the ball and I start in the net. You're like, no, you're only allowed to use your feet.
Yeah.
In boxing, we can only use the hands. So in somewhat, when I'm doing sports or martial arts or Krav Maga, I'm actually training myself to limit. And somebody with no training, maybe they're still open. They're tabula rasa. They're blank slate. I'm not saying, it's just a different way of thinking
If
about
you
it.
think about this, let's say that you were in charge of training a heavyweight boxer for a title fight, okay? So you study your opponent, you know what arena you're going to fight in, the dimensions of the ring, you have all of this information, okay?
I do a training camp before.
Right.
I do 6-week training camp. If you're southpaw, I'm only fighting southpaws.
Right, so you prepare for it. But here is on the contract, it will say, okay, we know all of these things, you have to prepare this fighter to fight that fighter, the ring size,
Weight class.
the weight class, the lighting conditions, you can train for all of those things. But you will not know the ground surface condition of the ring. It could be ice, it could be gravel, it could be sand. Think about just that one variable, how that throws such a monkey wrench in your plans.
Yeah.
And for a self-defense instructor, you're not just worrying about one variable, you're worrying about all the variables. So it's a tough job what you guys do.
Yes, and every individual, or let's say groups of individuals, have different categories.
Absolutely.
The threat 50-year-old businessman is going to face is going to be very different from a 19-year-old
Absolutely.
girl who goes to university away from her family. It's going to be very different from a 14-year-old who's getting bullied. It's different from Krav Maga black belt instructor. It's different from the soldier. And I would say Krav Maga is not for me. How many of my students have fought 2 wars, have dedicated their life for martial art, do it professionally, okay, and are male, bald, have a beard, and ugly?
Shit, that's why did you keep those ones, man? Come on, why did you?
I feel attacked.
Yeah. Okay, so Drew, in this crowd, you're a minority. And short.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Hairy
short.
guy.
And short and hairy and all of that.
We're taller, it matters.
Most of the people that we train, most of the people that are going to need what we train are not us. So, the number one skill for a teacher is empathy. You need to understand them. You understand where they're at, because it's not about you. Unless you can get close to walking in their shoes, that's why we're in self-defense. I can teach the mechanics of it, I understand, but the mindsets, okay? I know we're here in California, so it goes both ways, but I've never been a woman.
Yeah.
Can you say that, Mikey?
It's all good. No, we're good, man. We're
I'm
good.
Israeli, we don't do political correctness, I'm sorry,
It's
but
all right.
yeah, a female Krav Maga instructor is going to be better than me in very specific aspects of that. She's going to be able to relate. But even that, whoever becomes the Krav Maga instructor, I used to teach women's self-defense seminars, and I still do, but in Sydney we used to pack them out. We used to get like 60 women in every single class. Once a month we used to run these seminars, we brand them She Fights. They were great courses. And after, we saw how much they enjoyed it. And we're like, you see this gym that you just trained with? We do this 6 days a week. Why don't you come to train? I'm like, yeah, it's nice in theory. We'll give you 3 months for free, just come. And because they felt threatened about their safety, they wanted to be proactive about it, Their idea of fun is Pilates, it's yoga, it's going dancing with their friends.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not, look, it's not jujitsu. I say to people, unless you can tolerate and you enjoy having a sweaty man sweating into your eyeballs and mouth, then jujitsu is not for you. If your idea of fun is drink, getting punched in the face, if that's not your idea of fun, then boxing is not for you. Okay? Martial arts training is not, no, it's for everybody. But most people aren't ready for it, or it's more fun for them to do something else. You will never get good at anything that you don't enjoy doing. Will you learn how to swim if I throw you in the water? No. You learn how to survive, but you're probably going to, and if there are waves, you're probably going to never want to go near the ocean again. So the irony is that people that need what we teach the most are the people who are probably not going to enjoy it. And that's something we do really good at Krav Maga. That's something that we do. I'm going to own this better than jiu-jitsu, better than boxing. We're really good at taking people who normally would not feel comfortable in a jiu-jitsu gym or a boxing gym, and they come to Krav Maga, and you can say that even about the worst strip mall Krav Maga. You know what? At least the one thing that they've got going for themselves is that they can introduce somebody into that, and you know what? Maybe from there they get the confidence and they join a jiu-jitsu gym or a better Krav Maga gym. But that's something that we're able to do. But even then, that's like the minority of the population. If you don't enjoy, that's what I do with instructors. I have instructors who had bad experiences, as I did. We were given gloves and we said, kill each other. So I learned how to survive. I never learned how to enjoy the art of sparring. And it took a long time. And you've done my courses, you know how I'm really good at that. Because you won't get good at sparring. You'll do it if I force you to. And that's, you know why not a lot of people do Krav Maga in Israel? Kung Fu is popular, boxing is popular, jiu-jitsu is popular, Krav Maga, everybody does in the army. But not many people want to do it as a civilian because they're forced to do it. Their experiences with Krav Maga is when I have a soldier who comes to Krav Maga training in the army, my job isn't to convince them to buy a membership or to see that they had a good time so they can come again and build a habit. It's like, you have to survive this training. And I'm preparing, and I'm going to make it hard for you. And if you enjoy it, I couldn't care. Look, you learn better. As a coach, you learn better when you enjoy it. But my first priority is like, nobody forced you to be here. That's also how we, in the Israeli army, it's more, I read a little bit more in line of the Delta Force from one, not that everybody's fucking Delta Force, is not, but more in line of the Marines. In Marines, from the outside, it's you maggot, you're not good enough, not tough enough, I'm going to shoot. In the Israeli army, it's like, you chose to be here. If you want to be a paratrooper, if you want to be a combat soldier, it's like, this is your choice. You can leave at any time. We can't force you to be here. You can go and be a mechanic or not to take away from that. But if you want to earn your right to be a combat soldier, these are all the hardships that you're going to have to endure. So Krav Maga is a hardship that soldiers endure. When they say this Krav Maga training, when the soldiers hear this Krav Maga training, they're not like, yay! I've been waiting for this my whole day. I finished work and I can't wait to go and sweat out. When the soldiers hear this Krav Maga training, it's, okay, this is going to hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Because I haven't slept last night. We just finished 5 hours on the range, and I understand that this is important for my survival, but honestly, I'd rather go and talk to my wife, or I'd rather catch up on some sleep in the tent, or I'd rather just do nothing because my body is in so much pain. And I pull them up, and I put them in a circle, and I get people to hit them really hard. And then when they drop, and they say, I can't keep on going, I say, you have 2 options. Are you hurt, or are you injured? And they look at me, and I go, are you hurt? Then get up and keep on fighting. If you're injured, the ambulance is over there. Your choice. So when you finish that, and you say, how would you like to do Krav Maga 2 times a week? And
No, thanks.
and you have to pay for it.
I'd rather do FMA.
Yeah.
I don't do any real shit, man.
Tough Mudder never took off in Israel. Yeah, why? Because you have a population of veterans.
Yeah.
I'm not paying for that shit.
Yeah.
Pay me, I'm not going to do it. I'm done.
Got it.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Last question. This one's for you.
Sure.
So you are obviously a tenured Krav Maga instructor, practitioner. You second Dan. Been doing this for a long time. You're also now.
Second Dan.
Yeah. Put it in there. You're a student of
Yes, sir.
jiu-jitsu.
Yes, sir.
You're taking courses with Ron now. You're learning some stuff from Paulo. You dabble in a lot of different things. What do you look for as an experienced instructor? What do you look for in an instructor for yourself?
What do I look for in an instructor?
Yeah. So someone that you would trust to be able to impart their knowledge on you in a way that you can use it and it's useful.
I've actually mentioned this very recently, and there's two of them. Okay, one falls in line with EQ, somebody with a high emotional quotient, somebody who can read a room, very valuable. Second, somebody who can scaffold the information very well.
Okay.
The most average human being learns in 3s and 4s, right? We have our own instructor type of training here. We call it done in 4. If you can teach a technique in 4 movements, then you're solid. Okay.
I'll tell you later what I did to him in Vegas.
Yeah?
Hot seat.
Some hot seat stuff? Okay. But if you look at the phone number, it's always like the parentheses, which is 3 digits, the first set, which is 3 digits, and then a dash, and then 4 numbers at the end. The human mind can absorb information within those fractions, right? So the easiest way to remember 9 digits is to do it 3, 3, 4. Okay. So going back to the question, if I were to go find somebody to teach me something, 2 things. One, are they empathetic? Do they have a high EQ? Can they read the room? Can they shift gears? So reading the room, meaning to say, if I were to be this person's student, if I'm not getting the content, can you recognize with a dumb look on my face if you can shift gears and get me to see it through a different lens, right? Because sometimes if I'm looking through one set of lens, it'll be hard, but if you get me to look at it another way, I can get it. So one way that he was teaching me the Sabayan drill, which is literally 3 movements, 3 hard things to do, right? How is it 3 movements, 3 hard things to do? It's actually 9 things. 9 things. It boils down to the 3 most common attacks, 3 most common defenses, right? And 3 various types of tempo. So that's the whole way I acquired it. But when I looked at it from the FMA lens, I'm like, hard information.
Yeah.
And then I saw that the Sabayan drill starts with a 360 encounter with a knife instead of a hack and then a simulated cut with a backhand. I'm like, so simple. Martial arts, so simple. It's like flow of water, right? So I really appreciate the fact that by dabbling in so many things, I read the language. It's almost like being trilingual in martial arts, right? So we call 360 block. He calls it a hack. He calls it a bisecting line. Right, bisecting lines are very common. Once we go into jiu-jitsu, the shift is different. I forget how Magno calls it, but we call it buck and roll. Right, so being bilingual or trilingual in different systems is also important, in my opinion. But going back to the same question, can the instructor shift gears for me? If I were to be the student, and second, how good is the scaffolding? Because if this guy goes, you do it like this, okay, good to work. Then I'm gonna look at him like, I'm lucky. I'm blessed with the Filipino genes of dance moves, but I'm not a dancer by any means. But I can get martial arts. Martial arts is my dancing. So I can see complex set of movements. And I'm like, okay, I got that part. But if I were a common student, that would be my 2 things.
That resonates with me very much because I have 2 very recent examples of scaffolding resonating with me in a very particular way. So one, just now with you, what did you call it? Long combination A?
Yeah, it's complex sequence.
Complex
alpha.
sequence alpha. So he says, we're doing this long combination, and I'm like, forget it. My brain doesn't work that way. I quit after 2 movements. But you scaffolded it, right?
Yeah.
We did the first bit, and we did it again and again, and then we added in the next bit, and then we built some rhythm, and then we made it look cool. So it's very simple scaffolding to make my brain that really doesn't work with complex combinations be able to work through it. And then the other one is with you, something that I really enjoyed with the course that we just did in Las Vegas, that you explained very well in teaching technique is not teaching technique. You're teaching people to react to a situation, and they're going to react to whatever's in their arsenal. So you start with, here's a situation, just deal with it. So it's okay. Maybe it's just hands-on. So what are you going to do? Okay. What do your instincts tell you? So you just drill that for a while. Okay. And then it's, okay, here's the next thing. And then eventually you get to the technique where it's, okay, your last resort is now you have to complete a Krav Maga self-defense technique. But guess what? ideally you won't ever have to get there because we can always move things.
Like you also learn that against somebody. So for that particular drill, where one partner is trying to put their hands on the other's throat, it's about your size. You can hit them, but now you've got somebody bigger than you that's putting the weight on you and managing. Oh, now you need a technique.
Yep.
And let's see if it works.
Yep.
And if it doesn't, we'll have to find you another solution.
Yep.
Maybe you can. So it's about. I see as a coach, my job isn't to teach you. It's actually your training partner who's teaching you. My job is to create the training environment in which you learn. And the coolest thing is when the students, even if you travel like that, very early on, after in the immersion camps that we did, even after a few days, after 5 days, we're doing 8-hour days, but after about 5 days, you take absolute beginners who've never done martial arts in their life, and you give them a knife, or you give them a stick and you give them a knife, and you take a step back, and they're teaching each other. They're helping each other find the weak. Oh, you didn't block here, the knife came from here. Oh, you didn't have a good control of the knife. I was able to switch hands. Oh, you didn't close the reach.
Their awareness
and
goes
you
way
just
up.
step back, and it's like you've given them the skills. Some instructors, it's scary because then you don't need me anymore. I'm the guy who tells you, you need me because I'll tell you this technique, and after you master these techniques, I'll give you some more techniques. It's now I can leave you, and as long as you have a good training partner. I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Before we finish up. It's of personal interest to me. You know, in Krav Maga is an Israeli system. There are parts of the culture that are ingrained in that. You do karate. There's connection to Japan. Like there's that part. What are the parts of the Filipino culture? I know you're Filipino, you're teaching knife. I know it's an official, as a representative, put you on the spot. What would you say are the impact of the Filipino culture in the martial art culture?
There's a lot of gossip and drama, crab mentality. No, I joke, but it's to a degree true. If you're talking about the cultural impact of the people into the martial art, so there's a comparison between the Filipino martial arts and Japanese martial arts, for example, where Japanese martial arts or even Chinese martial arts, there's a code of conduct, a dress code, because they have this history of documentation. They're very old arts, and then they were able to codify things like codes of conduct, even standardization of techniques. We're going to call this technique one thing and not the other. In Filipino culture, because of the nature of the layout of the Philippines, something like 7,000 islands, all individualized, partitioned, each with their own different flavor, you might find one Filipino martial arts technique with 5 different names based on the region of the Philippines. So there is a kind of inconsistency and casualness in Filipino martial arts that might turn some people off. Because the authentic Filipino martial arts might be somebody's grandpa, it's hot, he's just wearing shorts and a wife beater, and it's noontime, and he's drinking his alcohol, or he's smoking a cigarette, and he's saying, no, more, hit more. And so there's a casualness, a nonchalance about it that some people like, some people don't like. But that's the part of Filipino martial arts culture that is embedded into the martial arts, the Filipino martial arts. For better or for worse. I like it.
Over the flexibility, which I think, man, watching your stuff, that's exactly what you represent.
Yeah, and it's funny because for me, I love that you recognize that, because for me, the Filipino martial arts, just like the Filipino culture, the Filipino people, are defined by their hospitality, their ingenuity. Ingenuity meaning we make do with what we have. There's typhoons, volcanoes, earthquakes, floods in the Philippines. A people that's constantly being bombarded by calamity, and they adjust, right? Yeah. They're adaptable. Their ingenuity is crazy. They'll take a leaf spring from a World War II Jeep and turn it into a sword. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that adaptability, that ingenuity, the hospitality is part of Filipino martial arts. And the part that kind of bothers me sometimes, because I like to think that I'm, as much as I respect culture, art, history, tradition, I can't ignore Krav Maga, I can't ignore Jiu-Jitsu, I can't ignore boxing. And when I integrate those things into my expression of Filipino martial arts, some people might say, well, that's not authentic, that's not real. And I'm like, no, I think by virtue of Filipinos, we have to adapt, we have to intake, we have to make do with what we have, and take everything into consideration. So
we need disruptors. We need also disruptors, because if we're like, what's your goal? If your goal is to just carbon copy, like, you know what? That's the benefit I have. I was just talking about as an Israeli teaching Krav Maga. I was just saying that's my benefit. Not that, man, there's nothing genetic that makes me better in Krav Maga, and some people are more skilled, some people are smart, like everybody. But my benefit is that I live in Israel, I train with the people, and in America, a lot of people say, this is the way. This is how I was taught by my instructor, and his instructor went to Israel and learned it over there, and who are you to question?
Yep.
And in Israel, I train with all the guys and they will train, and there is no way. There's some things that we all share, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of place to take it and to enjoy it. And if you tell me, if you came to me and you said, what you're doing is not Krav Maga, fuck off. Who are you from Phoenix, Arizona, to tell me that this technique isn't the right way? And same thing, so just, I'm an advantage just because of where I was born in addition, and it sounds like same thing with you. So who can tell you that what you're doing is not...
Let me ask you a question, just out of pure interest. What is, we're going to broad stroke here, but what is a characteristic of the Jewish people that is a characteristic of Krav Maga?
Resilience,
I love it.
ingenuity.
I love it. Say, starting to sound familiar, right?
We are a people who have been kicked out of our homeland and were refugees, persecuted everywhere we went. If we didn't stick together, we didn't survive, and if we didn't always find different ways of getting there, and nothing gifted to us to adapt. The Jews that came, my family, after my family survived the Holocaust, the ones that came to Israel, there was nothing. This was a place of swamps, of malaria. It was the backwards part of the Ottoman, the Turkish Empire. But I'm not going to go over there. I want to talk about the other side of my family. They arrived in Australia, okay, as refugees, as orphans. My grandparents, they lost their families, their parents were killed, and they arrived in Australia. Do you think that nowadays, like in Europe, you get a refugee package and they bring you over, they get stipulates? No, the Australians, which were great, they took in my family, but under the condition that Jewish people from Australia would, so my uncle, my grandparents, they had a member of the community say, I'll take this Jewish kid orphan, he can stay at my house, I'm going to pay for him to get educated, and they arrived there. My grandmother, she did very well for herself in Australia. She, in real estate and things like that, she could not write properly in English. Forget about university or that. She got pulled out of high school as a Jew when she turned 10. People think about when the Nazis came to power, but much before then already, she couldn't even go to school. So with the primary school education, these people came here, my people, they came from Russia, and they fled the pogroms as poor people, and they built here. Ford and Edison, I think, who had the patent for who had the patent for the video camera, okay? It's well documented. He was a rabid anti-Semite, and you couldn't get the license to use one of these cameras and to be on the film industry if you're Jewish. So what did they do? They went from the East Coast, they went here to California, and they set up this film industry. So everything that we've done, nothing was gifted, it was in spite. And that's very much, we're rebellious, we always, no patience for bullshit. Okay, straight to the point, because that I think is in essence of take what you have, use resilience, and be open, don't take yourself too seriously. And I think it's something that's something in common. It's also the Filipino people that's the thing, they're everywhere in terms of, in Israel, we have so many that the community aspect of it, they support their families, and I'm biased, but I love the culture, I love the people, the nicest, kindest people from my experience, that I've ever met. I'm sure they're assholes, one or two of them here, okay? But for the most part,
that's what I've said. I've traveled pretty extensively, and the most polite people that you'll find in the world.
But there's English polites. There's English polites.
Is the
Yeah.
Japanese, but the nicest people you'll find in the world is the Philippines.
Yeah. I'm Filipino Canadian, so I'm like double.
That did not work for you here. Finish, I'll tie everything together.
Yeah.
And I'll say that when you're signing up for a martial art, when you're going on, besides changing your life, you're also tapping into the culture. And that's the beauty of it, whether it's the Japanese culture, whether it's the Filipino culture, whether it's the Israeli culture, whether it's the Brazilian culture, like how much these things enrich your life, open your horizons, and
If I really agreed with that, could I have said Mazel Tov? Or is that inappropriate? I hear it all the
Mazel Tov
time.
means
Mazel Tov.
congratulations.
Oh, okay. It's not a
Congratulations.
generic. That's freaking awesome.
So what expression should you
What expression should I use? If I agree with you and I'm like, I love that, Ron, share your culture with me. What do I say?
Okay, so you can have you can say one is a benzona, which means this is like a son of a bitch.
Benzona?
Which means like, this is scared. Well, a benzona.
Benzona. I love
Yeah,
it.
but you know, if you say benzona, I'm punching you.
Oh, okay. All right, there's nuance. There's
Actually, you
nuance.
just called my mother a whore. Right? Yeah, but if you say buenas de benzona,
Buenas de
means
benzona.
this is the
Boom.
like that.
All right. I love
Cool.
it. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. So, guys, pleasure.
Pleasure.
Chatting with you, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it. We got to send you back to Canada. We got to send you back to Israel.
All right.
That's it. Go.
All right.
I'm glad you made this work.
Yeah.
Awesome.